It was a small box-like closet that someone had added to the main house decades earlier, and before Theo took it over, the firm had used it to store old law books that were out of date. His desk was a card table that was not quite as neat as his mother's, but much more organized than his father's. His chair was a ragged swivel unit he'd saved from the junk pile when his parents had refurbished the library up front near Elsa's station. Sitting in his chair was his dog. Judge spent each day at the office sleeping or roaming quietly around, trying to avoid the humans because they were always so busy. He was routinely kicked out of meetings. Late in the day, he eased back to Theo's office, climbed into his chair, and waited. "Hello, Judge," Theo said as he rubbed his head. "Have you had a busy day?" Judge jumped to the floor, tail wagging, a very happy dog. Theo settled into his chair and put his backpack on the desk. He looked around the room. On one wall, he'd tacked a large Twins poster with the season schedule. To his knowledge, he was the only Twins fan in town. Minnesota was 1,000 miles away, and Theo had never been there. He pulled for the team because no one else in Strattonburg did so. He felt it only fair that they have at least one fan in town. He'd chosen the Twins years earlier and now clung to them with a fierce loyalty that was tested throughout the long season. On another wall, there was a large cartoonish sketch of Theo Boone, attorney at law, wearing a suit and a tie and standing in court. A gavel was flying by his head, barely missing him, and the caption read, "Overruled." In the background, the jurors were howling with laughter at Theo's expense. At the bottom right-hand corner, the artist had scribbled her name, April Finnemore. She had given the sketch to Theo a year earlier for his birthday. Her dream was to run away to Paris now and spend the rest of her life drawing and painting street scenes. A door led to a small porch that led to the backyard, which was covered with gravel and used for parking. As usual, he unloaded his backpack and started his homework, which had to be finished before dinner, according to a rather rigid rule established by his parents when he was in the first grade. An asthma condition kept Theo away from the team sports he longed to play, but it also ensured straight A's in school. Over the years, he had grudgingly accepted the fact that his academic success was a good substitute for the games he missed. He could play golf, though, and he and his father teed off every Saturday morning at 9. There was a knock on the back door. Judge, who kept a bed under the desk, growled softly. Sandy Coe was also in the 8th grade at the middle school, but in a different section. Theo knew him, but not well. He was a pleasant boy who said little. He needed to talk, and Theo welcomed him to his room. Sandy took the only other chair, a folding one that Theo kept in a corner. When they were both seated, the room was full. "Can we talk in private?" Sandy asked. He seemed shy and nervous. "Sure, what's up?" "Well, I need some advice, I think. I'm really not sure about this, but I gotta talk to someone." Theo, the counselor, said, "I promise anything you say is kept in secret." "Good. Well, my dad got laid off a few months ago, and, well, things are pretty bad around the house." He paused, waiting for Theo to say something. "I'm sorry." "And last night my parents were having this real serious talk in the kitchen, and I shouldn't have been listening, but I couldn't help it. Do you know what foreclosure means?" "Yes." "What is it?" "There are a lot of foreclosures these days. It means that a person who owns a home can't make the mortgage payments and the bank wants to take the house." "I don't understand any of this." "Okay, it works like this." Theo grabbed a paperback and placed it in the center of the desk. "Let's say this is a house that you want to buy it. It costs $100,000, and since you don't have $100,000, you go to the bank and borrow the money." He placed a textbook next to the paperback. "This is the bank." "Got it. The bank loans you the $100,000, and now you're able to buy the house from whoever is selling it. You agree to pay the bank, say $500 a month for 30 years. 30 years? Yep, that's the typical deal. The bank charges an extra fee for making the loan. It's called interest. So each month you pay back part of the $100,000 plus a chunk for interest. It's a good deal for everybody. You get the house you want, and the bank makes money on the interest. All is well until something happens and you can't make the monthly payments. What's a mortgage? A deal like this is called a mortgage. The bank has a claim on the house until the loan is paid off. When you fall behind on the monthly payments, the bank has the right to come in and take the house. The bank kicks you out and it owns the house. That's a foreclosure. He placed the textbook on top of the paperback, smothering it. My mom was crying when they were talking about moving out. We've lived there since I was born. Theo opened his laptop and turned it on. It's terrible, he said, and it's happening a lot these days. Sandy lowered his head and appeared to be devastated. What's your father's name? Thomas Coe. And your mother? Evelyn. Theo pecked away. What's your address? 814 Bennington. More pecking. They waited, then Theo said, "Oh boy." "What is it?" "The bank is Security Trust on Main Street. 14 years ago, your parents borrowed $120,000 for a 30-year mortgage. They have not made the monthly payments in 4 months." 4 months? "Yep, and all this stuff is online?" "Yes, but not just anybody can find it." "How'd you find it?" "There are ways. A lot of law offices pay a fee to gain access to certain data. Plus, I know how to dig a little deeper." Sandy sank even lower and shook his head. "So we're going to lose our house?" "Not exactly." "What do you mean? My dad's not working." "There's a way to stop the foreclosure, stiff arm the bank, and keep the house for a while, maybe until your dad goes back to work." Sandy looked thoroughly bewildered. "You ever heard of bankruptcy?" Theo asked. "I guess, but I don't understand it." "It's your only choice. Your parents will be forced to file for bankruptcy protection. This means they hire a lawyer who will file some papers in bankruptcy court on their behalf." "How much do lawyers cost?" "Don't worry about that now. The important thing is to go see a lawyer." "You can't do it?" "Sorry, and my parents are not bankruptcy lawyers, but there's a guy 2 doors down, Steve Mozingo, and he's very good. My parents send clients to him. They like him a lot." Sandy scribbled down the name. "And you think we might get to keep our house?" "Yes, but your parents need to see this guy as soon as possible." "Thanks, Theo. I don't know what to say." "No problem. Happy to help." Sandy hurried through the door as if he might sprint home with the good news. Theo watched him get on his bike and disappear through the back parking lot. Another satisfied client.